self-care means being honest with yourself, especially when the truth is hard to admit. Now, that is loaded with a whole bunch of stuff, and I'm not going to take a whole long time to go into it, but I want to share a story about a time where it was really hard for me to admit the truth about something, but how I was able to liberate myself and the person that I had created a bond with by being honest about what I needed. What's up, world? It's your girl, Ebony Isis Booth, transformation life coach, cultural strategist, and professional speaker. You know, my message is clear. Healing is possible, magic is real, and love is the answer. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today, I want to talk to you about self-care. Now, I'm going to talk about this a lot on this channel. If you're new here, don't worry. I'm new here too, right? This is my first go around in being consistent with covering some of the basics of life coaching and to demystify all of the scams and gimmicks and clickbait that gets associated with true personal transformation. Because when my light is on, those who are for me can find me. You know what I mean? There's a life coach for every life, and there are a lot of lives on the planet, about 8 billion of them so far as I understand it. Now, I don't have the capacity to serve them all, but let's see what we can accomplish by using the fancy schmancy internet interwebs of YouTube to see how far this message can reach. I want to talk to you about self-care. And what I want to share with you today is something that came up for me on a call. I was doing a facilitation for a program that I train called Ritualize Your Routine. And in Ritualize Your Routine, we acknowledge the fact that, yes, it is true. We have all heard it a million times. You can't pour from an empty cup. However, what can you do to fill the cup when it feels like it's constantly being sucked dry by the people around you, by the systems of oppression that are enacting upon you, by realities, by poverty, by trifling ass people, by, your own limiting beliefs and all of these other things that tend to dominate our mental, physical, and spiritual plane, right? What do we do? And my suggestion or my solution is simple. It's that we begin with the micro changes so that we can yield macro results. And those micro changes can take place by ritualizing our routines. The routines, the things that you do already every single day, and how we can imbue them with a little intentionality and magic that belongs only to us, so that we can start to cultivate peace, so that we can begin to prioritize ourselves, so that we can begin to prioritize our rest, so that we can start to create the spaciousness that we need to get creative about how we can resolve our own problems and identify what is actually not really a problem at all, and move forward in a way that is serving and pleasing to our best and highest selves. Now, I know it sounds like big stuff, but if you know me at all, you understand that I don't believe that healing happens overnight. This is an iterative process that will require ebbs and flows throughout, okay? What was on my spirit today was this piece around accountability and truth-telling. That self-care means being honest with yourself, especially when the truth is hard to admit. Now, that is loaded with a whole bunch of stuff, and I'm not going to take a whole long time to go into it, but I want to share a story about a time where it was really hard for me to admit the truth about something, but how I was able to liberate myself and the person that I had created a bond with by being honest about what I needed. Okay? So, and this isn't really even a story. Maybe you can consider it an anecdote, because I can think of no fewer than maybe 3 different relationships where I mistook love for infatuation and a desire to be right. I just wanted to be right. I didn't want to be in love. I didn't want to show up in love. I wasn't choosing love. I was actually resisting love and deciding to be right. And therefore, I was not accurate or in alignment with or even aware of the situation that I was participating in, that I was creating, because I had been dishonest with myself. Now, if any of this is starting to sound a little bit familiar, stick with me, don't leave me yet. Now, we can go all the way back to the beginning of relationships, right? Where someone and your interaction, your energetic connection with them elicits some feeling, right? That kind of washes over you and is a bigger feeling that actually feels good. It is sensational even. It feels better than any of the other feelings that have been maybe more dull or muted in the past. Perhaps coming out of a depressive state, perhaps recovering from some kind of relationship trauma. In at least 3 of these iterations where I mistook love for infatuation or just decided to be in love rather than choosing to love myself. In any one of those 3 situations, I absolutely was coming out of something that did not feel good and was running towards what did feel good at the time. Where I skipped steps in that process, I was not curious about what the feel good was for or what it was teaching me. The thing about emotions and feelings is that they're data points. They come to give us information, to let us know what the body needs in order to stay whole and fulfilled. And when we use our intellect and intuition to get curious about them, we can derive more information from those feelings that will help us be more embodied in our choosing of how we show up, in our choosing of who we be in the world. You with me? Word. So, self-care taught me how to be honest with myself, even when it was hard to admit that I had been dishonest and therefore dishonoring myself. I wasn't loving myself fully. I was pretending to love someone else more than I ever loved me. And I gotta tell you, that's just no way to vibrate. That's not the vibes. It's not the type of vibes that we're trying to be on. So, the reality of the situation meant that when I came to this realization that I had mistaken love for control, for manipulation, for a sensational physical experience that would not be lasting, because those feelings and emotions are not permanent, right? They're fleeting, they're flowing, they ebb and flow, they rise and fall, change with the wind, If you're feeling a feeling and it feels real bad, don't worry, it won't last forever. Usually it takes about 90 seconds for it to wash over us, and then we are free to feel something else. But I latched on to that first good feeling after a deep and dark time of depression or sadness or unrest or disappointment, right? And I decided this must be love, and it wasn't. So by not admitting and by doubling down on the lie that I am in love, I am now creating an expectation and holding another person hostage to my narrative and holding them responsible for how I feel from this point out, just because I said I loved you. So now it's your responsibility to continue to make me feel good. And ain't that some bullshit? I want you to think, not so much in your mind, but in your heart. Allow your heart to recall those times where it wanted to be right. I had to forgive myself for that. I had to correct it. I had to be willing to be wrong about everything. I don't know what I'm doing. And I had to be honest when it was hard to say, yeah, what I believed was love was not love at all. And the expectation that I was holding you to was false. And so by me admitting that and forgiving myself for it, not only am I able to free myself from this toxic bond that we've created, I can also free you to go off and be honest with who you choose to love. And that, my friends, is transformative. It is an embodied practice of deep and abiding self-love, the willingness to go it alone, the willingness to be wrong, so that you can unburden yourself from the weight of another person's this yoke of responsibility that you've put on yourself for someone else's emotional capacity or emotional state of being when you haven't even checked into your own. Listen, I know a thing or two about a thing or two. You can ask me how I know. I could get into details and talk all about my business and tell you about relationships and time that I've done that. But I told you there's been no fewer than 3 times where I allowed the words "I love you," or "you love me," or "you were supposed to love me," or "this feels like love," or "I'm falling in love." Could this be I'm falling in love? Where I let that take me away from my integrity and lead me down a road of very unworkable situations. Now, the cool part is when I began to draw back my energy and call back my power to myself, when I really got into deepening the practice of self-love and awareness, when I came into alignment with with my own personal needs and values, when I really began to get curious about who I am, right? When I allowed self-inquiry to kind of wash over me and sat in the stillness and the peace, when I began to create boundaries for myself, well, shit, that's when life got good. When that happened, I realized that I love myself so much that there is truth in the fact that I am a lover of people, that I love humans, that when I say I love you, I mean it. But I have boundaries and awareness of what that means. I have agency in love. And Toni Morrison said, we do not fall in love, we rise in it. That is a transformative experience. That raises the vibration of how I exist and who I am being in the world. And since then, I have been able to attract a higher frequency and resonance of human that comes into my airspace. I have boundaries and tools now that allow me to choose who I am being at any given moment. And I get to embody love in a way that doesn't feel dangerous and that actually feels more empowering than vulnerable and scary, right? So that's wisdom. I just want to put you up on game a little bit about the power of self-love. And just one of the hard truths about self-care that we don't normally face is that you have to get honest and tell the truth about yourself. See, we want to drag somebody else. You want to read somebody. Baby, that's not it. Well, we're not here to drag nobody else. Can't nobody tell you better about me than I can. So, can nobody tell my story better than I can, right? So I'm wishing you nothing but high vibrations and healing. Remember, healing is possible, magic is real, and love is the answer. But we can unpack these words, healing, magic, love, and make bigger meaning of them in a way that is in service to our best and highest selves. And that's what I do in my practice at Honeysuckle Creatives. So if you like what you heard today and would like more, please continue to encourage your girl, because I'm new out here in this YouTube space, making genuine and authentic offerings to the collective in the hopes that we might all get free and stay that way. With so much love and light, continue to shine. Peace and blessings. Good night, y'all.